Welcome to Dugout Therapy, a baseball podcast about the mental game built by coachcrates. If you're looking to succeed both on and off the field, this is the place for you.
And right then I was like, all right, I don't know what exactly I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to make sure that nobody ever feels like this ever again. And I'm going to do whatever I can in my power to help athletes be prepared when adversity hits and when different moments like this hit. So going through the drug test, man, and all this crazy stuff, it really, it just put things in perspective for me and made me realize, hey, there's a greater purpose and there's more people out there that are struggling with this stuff, and I need to be here to help them get through this.
Welcome to Dugout Therapy. I'm here with my co-host Quinn Adams, and this is Dave Wodzis. We got a really cool guest here today, guys. Austin Byler from Major League University. So I want to welcome you all to Austin here. Austin, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on, fellas. I'm excited to get rolling, man, and get a little dugout therapy going.
For sure. I've been following Major League University for a little while now, and was excited when you reached out to kind of connect. And me and Austin kind of have been talking here and there about baseball and other things. So, but getting good vibe for what they got going on over there, and really excited to, I think, dive a little bit deeper into what, programs you're running, some stuff that can benefit coaches to hear. A lot of mental game stuff, which, I find fascinating, and we've tried to mold a lot of this podcast too. So super excited to talk with you, Austin. Appreciate you being on with us.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive into it and kind of get rolling, man. I love what you guys are doing. It's been fun to follow, so I'm excited to kind of see what's here in the near future.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. I guess to kick us off, do you want to give our audience a little bit of background, on you and your baseball story before we dive in?
Absolutely, man. So grew up in Peoria, Arizona. Played 4 years of varsity high school baseball. Pretty competitive area out there in Arizona. Arizona's obviously one of the more of a plethora for baseball. You can play all year round. So growing up, man, it was every day. It was every weekend. It felt like it never ended. And sometimes I wanted to just quit because it was so much baseball. But it really helped mold me for the future, and face some really good competition. We got to go a lot of really cool places in my youth years and see a lot of cool parts of the world, in Cooperstown, different places in the Midwest, going out to California a lot, Vegas, all the above. So I'm kind of going through high school, man. I wasn't really highly recruited as an athlete. So if there's any athletes or parents out there listening to this who they just don't know what to do at the next level yet, they don't know how to get there, they don't know what's going on, reach out or find somebody that you can trust to help you get to that next level, and it's going to be okay. There's always an opportunity for you. For me, it was going into my senior year, man. I was hitting 560, had freaking 20-something intentional walks, 10 bombs, greatest year you could ever have. And after the championship game, I still had no offers, and this was May 25th, which is insane.
Wow.
So, that was crazy for me, just going through it. I knew I deserved to play at the next level. I knew I wanted to play at the next level, but I didn't know how I was going to get there and if I was going to get there. And thankfully, a couple of days after the championship ended, I went out to the University of Nevada, Reno, which at first I thought was Vegas, so I was fired up, and then I realized it was up in northern Nevada, about another 10 hours north, and had no clue where it was. And a smaller town called Reno, and one of the best places in the world, man. This place is incredible. I loved it there. I ended up signing. So went a couple of days after the championship ended, went up there on a visit. It was cold. It was sleeting. It was not fun to watch, but it was awesome to just see how a college baseball game went, and to really kind of get the opportunity to go play somewhere. That was my dream, to go play Division I college baseball, and I thankfully had that opportunity. Went there for 4 years, 2011 to 2015. I went through a lot of adversity, which I'm sure we'll get into, but kind of just the brief overview was had a good career there, man. Two-time All-American, had some opportunities to go some really cool places. Got to play in the Cape Cod League 2 summers in a row. Was drafted as a junior by the Washington Nationals in the 9th round, and then the following year as a senior ended up going back to school. Decided that we had a great opportunity to win. We had an amazing culture and an amazing coaching staff as well, with the athletes that wanted to win, man. We were thriving, and we knew we were going to be good. And I just felt like, hey, I'm going to go back to school. Let's get this thing going, and let's see what we can do here in this final year. And Ended up having a great year. Won the regular season championship. Kind of got snubbed going into the playoffs, which that's another story. But won over 42 games, man. We crushed it and
Wow.
ended up getting drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Played a few years there, and now I'm here, man, with Major League University.
Love it. I mean, I think, obviously there's a lot in there, and we'll dive into a couple parts here, but biggest thing for me is like the willingness to come back that last year because of the culture that you had there. And, I don't know if you could correct me if I'm wrong, but did you have a sense of, hey, I got something to finish here?
Oh, absolutely, man. When I remember signing Coach Peyton Howard. He's now the head baseball coach at Dixie State University, and he's doing great things down there, man. They're really thriving. But he told me, hey, look, here's a 4-year deal. If you get drafted in 3, sure, you can go if you want. It's up to you, but this is a 4-year commitment. And I remember just telling him, hey, I'm here for this time. I want to make this decision. I want to be here for good. And it was just a great decision, man, to really go back. And it was more of, like you said, hey, I committed to this. This is what I said I would do. I know that we had 8 or 9 seniors that year who I was grinding with for 3 years, man, and we were really improving together. We had a great coaching staff and just a great atmosphere, a lot of hype going into that next year. And I knew that if I went back to school, it would put us over the edge. And I just, dude, I love Reno. Reno's home. I love Reno.
That's awesome. I guess, like, when you first went into college, was getting drafted, like, even in your mind at that point? Like, what was your, mental or mentality going into college? You said you always wanted to play Division I, so you make it there. What was it like starting out there?
Yeah, man, it was very interesting. I always wanted to play professional baseball. I didn't know how I was going to do it yet, but I knew I wanted to play, and I knew there was an opportunity to wherever you go. It wasn't necessarily on my radar. It was more of like, hey, let me make sure I get on the team and like I'm actually able to play. Thankfully, my freshman year, one of the outfielders, he was a senior, he's supposed to be a senior, and he was like a freaking 3-time conference player of the year, or not player of the year, but first team. And he ended up being kicked off the team, which opened up a massive spot for me to play right away and make an impact. And after my first year, man, going out to summer ball, I crushed it. Klamath Falls, Oregon. They're no longer the gyms anymore. I don't even think they're a team, but they were there. We were 2-18 when we started, ended up being 20-2 after most of our guys got there, won 18 games in a row. And I had a great summer. Set a couple records and like made the all-star team and all this good stuff. And after that, I knew that I had a really good chance to play professional baseball, but I also knew it was going to be really hard. And there's a lot of really good players out there because I got exposed to ASU athletes, to Gonzaga, to UCLA, to Cal State Fullerton, all the really good West Coast schools for the most part in that league. And I knew that it was going to be a tough grind, but it was definitely on the top of my mind, man, that I wanted to get drafted. I wanted to play professionally and make my dreams come true.
And you got the stats to back that up, because I'm looking at your college stats and they're similar to your high school stats. Could you talk a little bit about just, you were hitting something like 560 in high school, and your senior year you didn't even get an offer. Was that just because of the oversaturation of quality of ball players in the region where you went to high school, or was it something else?
I don't really know exactly. I couldn't pinpoint it. I had a few schools. I mean, University of Arizona wanted me to walk on, but I knew that at that time they accepted probably 100 walk-ons, and then the majority of people got cut by then.
Right.
And then University of Utah actually was getting ready to offer me. They kind of threw out an offer. I didn't take it right away. And then about a couple of days later, they revoked that offer because the pitcher went down. They needed to go find a pitcher instead of a hitter. And so for me, not a lot of people thought I could play defensively. So maybe that was part of it, which fueled my fire to become the best defender I could possibly be, and ended up being a freaking Gold Glove first baseman in the future. Played a little bit of third in college, but it was tough, man. It was tough to really know that you're doing everything you can to succeed and still not get the end, quote unquote, result that you want. But in the end of things, man, if you really trust who you are, what you have to offer, and your talents, and you trust your own process, whatever that may be, to get you to that level, you're going to get there, man. It's just going to take some time and take some time for people to see you, the right people to see you.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I mean, I think it's tough to get your vision clouded by everything out there. Trusting in your process is enormous on the mental side of things. As you're going through that, I think back on my experience. I had a very successful end of my high school career, and same thing, kind of low interest level across East Coast. So I was like, I'm just going to go close to me. I'm going to play, Division III ball out here, and I'm going to, be whatever the team needs me to be. And that's kind of what I did. But I guess tell us a little bit about, some of the adversity you went through, maybe on the defensive side of things, and what you went out to prove on that side.
Yeah, man. So in high school, my freshman and sophomore year, I had a terrible diet. So I would, to paint the picture and make it a little clearer for you, I would go to this place called FAST, Foothills Athletic Training, and a guy by Kyle Decker, amazing guy. I loved what they did. But after every workout, we'd get crushed, man. Like we almost died. I broke the treadmill once because I had such, I don't want to say fat feet, but heavy feet. Like I wasn't light on my feet by any means at that time. So I literally broke the treadmill. It was insane. Which was a great day because we didn't have to run on the treadmill.
Wait,
we had to go outside, so it backfired.
Did you break the conveyor belt, like the thing that moves?
Yeah, man. It shut down. It was and it was gone, dude, for that whole summer, dude. It was awesome. We were so
Sounds a little intentional.
Yeah, exactly. It may have been intentional. I might have been heavy on the feet then. But after that, dude, I would go, we get crushed in the gym for an hour, do our thing. And then I would go across the street to QT, which for those of you on the East Coast, it's Quick Trip. It's basically like a Circle K or whatever that one with the S is out there.
Convenience store.
Basically, right? Yeah, convenience store. Yeah, little convenience store / gas station. And they had a foot long, or not foot long, but almost a foot long, Long John. And then I would go get a 44-ounce Dr. Pepper, and I would crush those after every workout. So I'm eating a donut and a big Dr. Pepper. And so I had a little bit of a belly at the time, the first couple of years. And I used that as my fuel to kind of get in better shape, man, and put my body in a better position, because I knew, seeing college athletes, seeing how freaking strong and donkeys they were, I knew I had to be strong, but I had to be fit as well. I can't keep eating this stuff. So that kind of helps it. But I think just the overall fact of when you're overlooked in a certain situation, you always want to go prove something. And for me, it's almost proving something with myself to become better every day at that side of the game, because I knew to be a complete player, you're going to be able to play at the next level. And for me, being a corner guy, I needed to be really good at third base to make sure that I could play there as long as I could until somebody told me I needed to play first base. So that's kind of how it worked. But the diet was tough, man. The diet was tough back in the day, and that, I think, prevented some of those from happening.
I'm someone who went through a personal diet change and weight loss journey. Over the past 3 years, I've lost a little over 100 pounds. Once you make that switch consistently, it completely changes not only your physical performance, but your mentality going into it. And I see that you emphasize the mentality side of baseball with your company, Major League University. Can you talk a little bit about your mastery program, your mentorship program? I see that you got a good blog going on here.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, first of all, congratulations. That's incredible.
Hey, thank you.
I think what you did there, dude, literally what you did there is what I teach in a different way. Yours is lifestyle, yours is diet. This is basically holding yourself accountable, committing to yourself, doing something that's uncomfortable, but it's not unattainable, something that you can achieve and you could actually get there. And that's kind of what we teach, really, man, with our mentorship program. The mentorship program's a monthly deal where you sign up for it. If you're an athlete, you can either do the monthly or you can do a yearly. I've got to add it on there still, but there's a yearly option, which I would recommend, because nothing happens overnight. Nothing happens within a couple of weeks. Like, it's going to take some time. And I think nowadays society wants things so quick, especially our athletes. We want quick gratification, quick success, and it just doesn't happen that way. You got to work for it. You got to put in the hours. You got to put in the discipline of putting the right food in your body, putting the right nutrients in your mind as well. And so it's all about training our mind, man, and really helping athletes understand how powerful they can become and what their identity is, that it's more than just the sport that they play. A lot of us get so caught up in, I'm a baseball player. I go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and everybody asks me about baseball. When am I going to be in the pros? When am I going to be in college? Who's offering me? Where do I want to go play? What if I'm starting at Stanford? What if I'm like this and that? All these different outside external forces. And my whole goal is to help you understand that you had a name before the game. You have a purpose that's bigger than baseball, and there's more than that to life. And it sets you up for life if you let it. It could also hurt you. Like, I've seen guys in pro ball, man. You think pro ball is like all sunshine and rainbows. There's a lot of broken people there. And the biggest thing is they don't really have an identity, and they don't know who they actually are. They're so used to being a baseball player. And when they're on the verge of being cut, just being a baseball player, you kind of foresee the future, and you think you're almost done in a way. And so I think just understanding that there's more to life than just baseball. The mentorship program, like I said, monthly to yearly, I'm starting that mental game mastery program, which is a 6-week developmental course type deal that we're going to meet once a week for the first 6 weeks of the year, coming up in January. And I'm so excited because it's high school and college athletes. We get to meet new people from across the world. We get to see different struggles. Athletes get to be vulnerable. When there's vulnerability, you can now open yourself up to grow. I think that's a big key for athletes, especially now. We don't talk, we just text, like it's kind of how it is. And so I'm super excited about that program, man, and how it's going to impact these athletes and set them up for success this year.
That's great.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. Like, I don't know, the vibe I'm getting from it, which I kind of like, and the way I'm hearing it is it's almost like you're diving in with these athletes, trying to have them look in the mirror and say, what's my identity as a person? So they know, what flair they, what's their one thing they bring to the baseball field, not just on the field, but off the field. And then it can kind of give them a different flair and think more internally about how they get to their goals. Is that kind of how you go about it in the beginning with them?
Definitely, man. Definitely. Really holding yourself accountable, committing to yourself. At the end of the day, man, we only have ourselves. I mean, who are you when you're alone? I could be the best dude in the world around you guys. We could be chopping it up for hours. But when I go home and I'm sitting there by myself, how do I feel about myself? Who do I say I am? What do I think about myself? It's so key, man. And it's more than just sports. It's more than just school. Like, it's real life. Like, a lot of people are dealing with this. So if we can impact them at a younger age, I think it only will help develop more leaders and successful individuals in this world and help change the world.
Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
I guess to go back in a little bit here, from your days in pro ball, was there any part of that grind that helped you develop Major League University? Was there, any experiences specifically from pro ball and that grind that you were like, afterwards you're like, I can take from this and build, MLU?
100%, man. It was after my first year. I had a great year. I was in the Pioneer League, which is up in Missoula, Montana, was where we were at. And they actually just changed their mascot, which is kind of cool. It's like something with the mooses or the paddles or something, paddle ducks, something crazy. You'll see it, I'm sure, floating around Twitter. Real awkward, but I'm down. So I was up there and, dude, crushed it. Led the league in homers, Ty Goldie's, Paul Goldschmidt's record at that league at the time after playoffs. Damn. Yeah, and crushed it, led the league in walks. I don't even know if I set a record for extra base hits, but I was up there with it. Just crazy stats, okay? On the outside, everything was great. We won the championship. I was an all-star, whoop-de-doo. But then that off season, I go into instructionals, which is basically get invited back if you're going to be in AA or AAA or have a good chance to get to the big leagues in the near future. They invite a select amount of people back. So I was invited back, and I was fired up. I'm on the fast track to the big leagues. Let's go. And then halfway through that in October, right before my birthday, I failed a drug test. And so that like shattered me, dude. Like it absolutely put me in shambles. I didn't know what to do. The toughest phone call I've ever had to make to my parents. It was awful. Like I didn't know how to react to this. I didn't know what was going to happen, what people would think about me. And I got so much anxiety and I got in this massive depression, like internally, that I started to mask my pain. And so I masked my pain with prescription medication and with just negative external forces that weren't serving me or my body or my life. And so when I got out of pro ball, I finally, right before my last season of pro ball, it was about 2017, right before the new year of 2018. And I finally kind of came to terms with it. I got introduced to a guy who he's with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and he kind of led me back to the Lord a little bit. And that kind of started this whole transition into this new life that I was trying to create for myself. And and so I went into that last year more mentally focused, more kind of locked in. And at that point, it was just time. Got released, went over to independent ball, played for a month, got released there, thankfully, because that was terrible. And then decided to retire and hang it up. And right then I was like, all right, like, I don't know what exactly I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to make sure that nobody ever feels like this ever again. And I'm going to do whatever I can in my power to help athletes be prepared when adversity hits and when different moments like this hit. So going through the drug test, man, and like this, all this crazy stuff, like it really, it just put things in perspective for me and made me realize like, hey, there's a greater purpose and there's more people out there that are struggling with this stuff. And I need to be here to help them get through.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a powerful story. I appreciate you sharing, Austin. I think a lot of listeners can take something from that, in their own way, whether it's coaches that, played pro ball and went through, similar stuff, or played college ball, went through similar stuff, players listening. I mean, there's just so much more to this game than just on the field. I think really teaching how to, handle failure, because you're going to handle it so much, is just a tough thing for a lot of players to understand early on in their careers. And like, the more you introduce these things through, whatever your mental game mastery or mentorship program, introducing it at a younger age to these players just sets them up for better success. So I think it's a super powerful story, and appreciate you sharing.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to share it, man. And like when I go work with a lot of teams, so different college teams, high school, travel organizations, and when I share that, I think like I just am able to connect with them on a different level because I know they're going through it. I know people are either using medications, using drugs, or they're trying to stay away from it because there's so many people that are doing it, or they're battling their own battle inside, their own internal battle, whether that's I don't feel good enough, I'm not confident, whatever it is. And to be able to just kind of get down to the bare bottom and be able to relate to the kids. I'm not coming in like trying to tell them how to live their life or tell them what to do. I'm sharing what I did, how it impacted me, really my future. And then now an opportunity to get back to them and be like, look, like I'm here to help you through whatever battle you're going, man. Like I want to be here to help.
When you're mentoring these kids, what is your favorite aspect to help try and guide them through? Is it, off the field type stuff, or is it, working on a project with their on the field skills?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. I think it's more the off the field stuff. So my biggest thing is, I guess, the best part I get out of it, and my favorite thing to do is teach them visualization. And I use the word visualization rather than meditation, because as an athlete, if you hear meditation, you instantly shun it out and like block it out and say, okay, you're a crazy hippie.
You're a monk.
Like, what are you trying to teach me? Yeah, you're a monk, dude. Like, go live in a freaking cave. Like, no, like everybody needs to be doing this. I won't give you the background on why it's important yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to visualize ourselves have success, and we're going to create our own mental highlight reel of the best at-bats, the best times on the mound, the best times in the field, the best times just in general with my teammates that I've ever had in my entire life. Think about 3 to 5, when you felt the best. And even if it's 60 seconds before an at-bat, on deck circle, if it's in the dugout, if it's in the clubhouse before you go out to the game, if you're laying out there before stretch, before the national anthem, or maybe even during the national anthem, you're just visualizing yourself having your best at-bats, taking your best swing, throwing low strikes, whatever it is, whatever position you play. I teach that everywhere I go, no matter if it's a youth baseball camp, no matter if it's soon to be with the team that I'm coaching up here in the Bay Area, or if it's with the team that I go work with as far as a college or high school travel organization, because it is so powerful. And the younger that you can learn this, the better, because I didn't know this until college. And at first, when they came in, somebody said it was meditation. I said, no way, Jose. Like, I am not doing this. But our coach forced us to do it every single day. And I watched our team. This is where it really hit. From my sophomore to junior year, we lost 3 starters. One was a first-round draft pick to the Diamondbacks. Another one was co-player of the year, pitcher of the year, went to the Diamondbacks. And the other one ended up getting hurt, but was a nasty lefty, 91 and 94. Would have been a first-rounder, or top 5 in the next year if he didn't get hurt and, fall into the same depression that I did. And so I watched this happen with a lesser, quote unquote, talented team at the time than the year before. And we did a lot of things different. We focused on little things for sure, but the biggest thing that we did was visualize. And we did this every single day for 5 to 10 minutes in the clubhouse before we went out to the field. And this changed everything. We were so locked in. Everybody was more mentally focused, less jitters, less anxiety, less fear, less sporadic minds where we're bouncing around like a ping pong ball. Helped us process our thoughts. It helped us get rid of anything that's going on outside of the field, that we could now focus in on what we need to do on the field for this time that we have, whether it's an hour or 3 hours or 5 hours. And I will teach this to every single person that I ever come across, because it is so powerful. And the more that you can really see yourself in your mind have success, the better the product on the field is going to be.
Love that. As simple as it is, it doesn't happen as much as it needs to. So to hear, how you kind of did that in college and then how you're kind of teaching that now is great. I literally had a question set up. I was like, what key visualization tactics are you teaching? And you just blew that one out of the water.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even have to ask it because that was literally perfect. How long were you guys spending before a game doing this? 10 minutes, 5 minutes? How?
Yeah, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes for our team.
Okay.
About 5 to 10. And it would depend maybe on the day or maybe on how much time we had, but we didn't miss it. And that was the key. We never missed it.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have taken this off. I used this, and this is where the personal experience comes from. I used this tool because when I was drafted, I only had about 3 weeks off after the season, and then went straight into professional baseball. So I knew hey, that was my routine. This is what I did every day. I'm going to keep this up. And so I did it in pro ball, and I raked. Well, then the next 2 years, after 2.5 years, after not doing this consistently, not having a routine, I was not raking. I was not hitting nearly as good as I used to hit. And the only correlation besides how I felt inside was the visualization. Still worked out. I still hit all the time. Still did all this other stuff. I never saw myself succeed. I was telling myself the wrong thing. So that's kind of how it came about, man.
That's great. That's something, visualization, or even just the mental side of the game. Dave and I are both 24. I think we were kind of on the same baseball team on and off throughout our younger days. No visualization is really emphasized or practiced, at least on the East Coast for us. That just seems like something that's coming along now that is so beneficial, because that's just one less thing to worry about. Baseball has enough pressure as it comes with naturally. If your head's right, that's just one more thing to check off the box that will lead you to success.
Yeah, I didn't do any till college. I know for a fact.
It's ridiculous.
They need to be teaching this in schools. It's not even just athletes. What if this is one of my dreams, and I know people are working on it already, but I want to join forces. So if you're out there listening to this and this is what you're working on, hit me up. Slide in the DMs, Dave, because I'm ready. But I want to, what if we had, instead of first hour, quote unquote, in all these high schools and youth schools, where you just go in, you do your homework, you talk, and you BS around and whatever else you do in there. What if we had 15 minutes of personal reflection, of whatever name you want to call it, but working on ourselves for the first 15 minutes. In the first 5 minutes, you wrote in a gratitude journal 5 things that you're grateful for, that give you joy, that make you happy. And then you wrote down 3 affirmations that you were going to tell yourself for that day, or commitments, saying, I'm a beast, I am healthy, I am strong, I have great friends, I have a great family, I have a great life, I love my school, something like that. And then we just meditated, or we visualized, or whatever you want to call it, for 5 minutes, 60 seconds even. Imagine how much better, one, the students would actually comprehend the information they're learning, how much more focused they would be, and their minds, like, it would be incredible. So, yeah, dude, I want to get that going. I just don't have the funding to do it. Really.
I think it's like 2 things. It's definitely like a mind shift for some people, like how they can use this in other ways. Like, I think that's a great example of how this can be used most practically, like at a younger age for a lot of kids. And then, they can take it with them into sports, into their, careers, whatever. I mean, I know for myself, like a year ago, I was getting really busy with the business and like a bunch of other stuff in my life, like coaching, playing ball on the side a little bit still, working other jobs. And I was just like, wow, I don't even have time to breathe right now. And I literally had to start chalking out like a half hour of my day for like personal reflection. And like, as soon as I started doing that, every day got easier from there for me personally. So I know it's how powerful it is. It's just like, think internally to like affect things externally. It's like enormous.
That's good right there. I'm using that. Think internally to reflect things externally. Boom. That's a quote. I like that.
Cool. Well, I'm glad at least I said one useful thing, because it's about 95% useful things from you here, Austin.
Yeah, you're hitting us with knowledge today, Austin. But we have limited time left, so we're going to transition into quick pitch questions.
Quick pitch.
First question, what is your favorite baseball movie of all time?
Oh, man, Major League.
I love that. Nice.
Is it just because your company is Major League University?
I didn't even think about it, but hey, maybe it is.
No, that's a masterpiece.
My boy.
Nah, that's a good movie. Good movie.
Rick Vaughn might be the best movie pitcher of all time. I'm gonna go Rick Vaughn.
Hands down. Maybe not hands down. There's a few other ones, but hey, he's top 3. Easy top 3.
Yes, agreed. What's the biggest lesson baseball has taught you throughout the years?
Ooh, that failure ultimately will lead to growth if you allow it to. That every time that you fail, you are one step closer to your dreams, because whatever you do in baseball, you fail 10 times, and next at bat, you hit a home run. You do it in business, you fail 10 times, and more like 1,000 times, people don't respond to you, people don't acknowledge you, people don't think you have what it takes, and you keep putting the work in, you keep putting it out there every single day, you're eventually going to get that. So failure leads to growth, man, every single time.
I saw an article on, I think, the New York Times. It was a list, like a common theme that all successful people have, and it's facing adversity and failing at a very early age, and then how they respond to it. That's as long as you openly, can learn from your mistakes when you're younger, that's going to set you up for positive results, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I like that. Man, you're spot on.
What's the biggest tip that you could give a guy trying to mentor some young players, maybe trying to start that visualization culture in his program? What's the biggest tip you could give him?
Seek first to understand, and then you can talk. Like, ask them questions. The more questions you ask and break down the barriers, the more honesty you're going to get from somebody. And I think something that, like, I don't do a lot of things well. I've got a ton of room to grow, and like we all do as people and humans. But the thing that I think I do the best is I ask people how they're feeling. I ask them about themselves. I don't just immediately jump into it and say, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be told what we need to do. We've got to understand our athletes. If you're a coach, you've got to understand where your athletes are coming from. Maybe what they're doing on the field is a result from what's going on at home. Maybe it's something in class that they're so stressed out about that if you asked, hey, how was school? How's your schoolwork going? Maybe you would have gotten that answer before you yelled at the kid and made him run to center field because you knew that he was all pent up with all his anger and anxiety inside. So I think the biggest thing to do this, man, if you're a coach, if you're a player, anybody who's doing this stuff, if you want to go do what we're doing and coaching different people, like, ask them about themselves. Like, honestly, like, ask them how they're doing, truly get the answers out of them. And from there, you can develop a plan. There's really no cookie cutter plan. Like, when you ask kind of, hey, what's your process with the mentorship? There's really no like straight up process. It's all individualized. Like, what, maybe you respond different to something than I respond. So maybe we need to understand each other and how we can develop a plan for that individual to get to where they need to be. So that's the biggest thing, man. Understand where people are coming from.
I love that. That might be one of my favorite, answers to there. I think we've had like an ongoing theme of like our podcast guests coming on and in one way or another, they're figuring out new ways to connect with players because the more they can connect with them off the field, the more results they can get on the field for them. So I love that perspective there. And I think we're coming up here on the end. So that's perfect timing. I just want to thank you again for being on with us here, Austin. It's been a blast. We'll definitely have to have you back on. I feel like we could have talked another hour and a half or so, but
yeah.
Until then, let's give a little sneak peek to all the listeners. There's going to be an ebook that me and Austin are working on around culture. Just stay tuned. We'll see. We're very early days, but stay tuned. We'll be releasing more hopefully in the next couple months.
Eyeball emoji.
Eyeball. Double eyeball emoji. Put it in bold. Throw it on a text and slap it in the DM. Let's go. I'm pumped. Thanks for having me on, fellas. This was awesome. And the ebook
Pleasure's
killer, man.
I'm excited.
Oh, man. I'm excited. I won't give too much more info, but thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks so much, Austin.
Thanks, Austin.